Hey, everybody, Dominic here. Thanks very much for checking in. It's 2021, and this episode here, usually I don't like to timestamp the episodes so that you can listen to them in any order. But I think, you know, given what's going on in the world, it's probably a good time to break that rule because we've got some serious stuff ahead of us and some serious stuff behind us. What's interesting, and I'm sure you found this laughable, is that when you listen to the radio or watch TV, they keep saying business is down. And every construction contractor I talk to is running around with their hair on fire because our business has been up. In a lot of places, we've been named essential services. Things have never been busier. People are tired of looking at the four walls of their house. This is for those of you who do, residential work. People are tired of looking at the four walls of their house and they're like, I would like to change this. And so you get the phone call. On the commercial side, there was a bit of a gap. I know that I had a guest on here talking about the Architectural Billing Index, which is a leading indicator of how much work architects are doing. And as you know, architects are the first thing on a project, and then it goes to the designers, et cetera. So that's a good indicator of what's coming down the pipe. And there was a bit of a dip in that, but commercial tenant improvements seem to be strong as well. So if you're listening to this, it's really about growing your business and making the most of 2021. If you've been following me on social media at all, you know that I'm saying 2021 is the year of more. We need more. I'm not going to accept whatever was foisted upon us around March. We're going to I'm calling it the year of more. And I've decided to make it my job to help you find a way to make it the year of more. So this episode today is how to make 2021 your year of more. And so this is the how-to guide of it. And I want to start by there's a couple of setup things I need to do first. Number one is simple. It is actually the most important thing you can do to keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate it. And actually keeping it simple is hard. It's really hard because you've got to cut through all the clutter, pick out the high points and make those high points memorable and attractive enough to pay attention to them. So you're going to, if this is the first episode you've ever listened to of mine on any of my shows, then welcome. Thanks for joining. But you're going to find out that things are simple. I have a joke that I used to make when I was training business coaches because for years, my last business, I trained business coaches all around the world. And I had a joke that I would tell them because these guys are all very, very smart. The people that came to be business coaches, the people I was training used to be people like you, the presidents of companies who'd sold their business and now wanted to go into being a business coach. And they're very smart, felt very accomplished, but they tended to use big words. And so I would always remind them, keep it simple, talk like a real human. And then my joke would be, why use a short word when a diminutive one will do? But keep it simple, use real human language. So be kind to yourself when you're doing this exercise along with me, when you're figuring out how to make 2021 your year of more, which I'm going to show you right here. Keep it simple, dead simple. That will be the challenge I put in front of you. There are 7 secrets to goal setting success, and I want to talk to you about. And again, a piece of background information. You might go, hey, Rubino, who the heck are you to be talking to me about goal setting? And I will answer, I'm nobody. But I've been studying this darn thing for a very, very, very long time. I started when I had a different hairline and it was all dark colored. Now I have a receding hairline that's gray. If you've read the book, Construction Millionaire Secrets, you'll know that I said this book is written in gray hair and wrinkles. And so is this goal setting stuff. For years, I was partners with a gentleman named Brian Tracy. Brian wrote a book on goals. It's called Goals. How to Get Everything You Want Faster Than You Ever Thought Possible. He's also written books you've probably heard of, like Eat That Frog. If you've got a way to, if you're looking for a way to manage your own personal time, Eat That Frog is just a rock star book for that. And he's written books like Psychology of Achievement and The Psychology of Selling. But for this particular topic, I'm going to refer you to one of his books called Goals, How to Get Everything You Want Faster Than You Ever Thought Possible. And I don't know, the last time I checked, it was $20 on Amazon. So it's worth it. But anyways, there are 7 steps to goal setting success. Before you get started, though, I want to make sure you do this. And if this is the thing that you decide that you're going to do differently this year, this one thing, then that's fine. Do this one thing, commit to doing it all year, and then don't listen to the rest of the episode. Because as soon as you start doing this, then things will change, right? You have to do this before that. Same with anything, you have to lay out your grid lines before you know where to dig your trench. You have to look at blueprints before you build. This has to be done before everything else. It's super simple. It's going to cost you about $1, and that buck is not coming to me. I want you to go to the dollar store and buy one of those composition books. Buy a book that's got a bound spine. I don't want loose leaf. This doesn't really work with, those yellow notepads, those legal notepads where you flip it over the top. That doesn't really suit our purposes. Have a book like your kids might use for one of their topics in school, or like a sketch pad, but go buy that book and then write in it every day. And all you're going to do is write the 7 things I'm going to tell you about today, or you're going to use the 7 steps to figure out what to write in that book. For those of you who are already bored with this episode, or who've already said, Dom, oh my God, you just broke through the darkness. That's good. That's all you need for the rest of the year. 2021 is your year of more. Feel free to hang up or stop listening to this episode as long as you commit to doing that thing. Okay? Because there's a power to writing things down. This is something I learned from Brian, is that very few adults have clear written goals. And what Brian went on to find is that those people with clear written goals accomplish 5 or 10 times as much as people who have equal or better education. People have never taken time to write down what they want. So when you write things down, you make them start to come to life. So dreaming is just that. But dreaming and putting things into action makes you a person of action. And so the key there is just write things down. Now, for those of you who are younger than me, you might go, Dom, writing in a book? That sounds pretty old fashioned. I'm going to do it on my iPhone, iPad, Samsung Galaxy notebook, notepad, mobile device, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, go ahead. If that works for you, doesn't work for me. What works for me is the physical connection between writing something and I don't know what it is, some sort of mental magic between writing something and all of that symbolism goes up my arm and into my brain. There's a lock there that I don't get from tapping with my thumbs on a keyboard. If you want to do it by tapping on your phone or tapping on a mobile device, you go right ahead. I don't think it's going to work, but go ahead and prove me wrong. If you find that's not working for you, then let's stop having a pissing contest. Go spend $1 on a book and $1 on a pencil or a pen and do it the way I'm suggesting. Okay. Hey, thank you. Let's talk about the 7 steps. For those of you who are already writing stuff down, here are the 7 steps. I'm going to run them through with you. Again, if this is all you need to hear, these 7 steps, that's great. You can hang up the episode. If you want to hear me walk through some of the high points of each of those 7 steps, then stay tuned. And after any step where you feel like you're done and you're going to take action for 2021 and make it your year of more, hang up. You're good. You don't have to beat yourself around the ears to do more. Okay. Do we have a deal there? Nod your head, say, yeah, high five the window as you're driving, talk to your dog as you're walking your dog, whatever it is, say, yep, spot. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So here are the 7 steps to goal setting success. Number 1, decide exactly what you want. So go ahead and write this list in your book. If you're a millennial and you want to tap it into your phone with your thumbs, go right ahead. I don't think that's going to work, as I've said before, but hey, fill your boots. So number 1, decide exactly what you want. Step number 2, write it down. I was telling you what to do, but also saying that is step number 2, write it down. So write down the words, write it down. And next to that, put the number 2. Number 3, set a deadline. Number 4, make a list. Number 5, organize your list into a plan. You see, once you have it written down and you see it on paper, you own it. You can manipulate what's on paper. You can say, well, this thing that I wrote third actually needs to be number 1. Number 2 needs to be split into different parts. I want to rephrase what I said here in step 9. All of those things are yours to be able to do. And that's why I want you to do this by hand. There's just more creativity and power there. All right. So let me just catch us up. Number 1 was decide exactly what you want. Number 2, write it down. Number 3, set a deadline. Number 4, make a list. Number 5, organize your list into a plan. Number 6, take action. I'll talk about that later when I get to step number 6 as I blow up each of these points. And then number 7, resolve to do something on your list every single day. I don't care what it is, but something on your list. Do something on your list daily. So that's the 7 steps. I'll repeat it again for those of you who decide that this is enough for you on this episode. That's cool. But I want to make sure you have all the 7 steps. Number 1, decide exactly what you want. Number 2, write it down in a $1 notebook with a $1 pen. Number 3, set a deadline. So it needs to be time bound. You need to say, I will do this by this date. Number 4, make a list. Number 5, organize your list into a plan. Number 6, take action. And number 7, resolve. That means make a decision to do something on your list every day. Okay. For those of you who think that's enough, you can hang up now. For those of you who are interested in really putting the wheels on this deal, bolting the wheels on the deal, as we call it, then let's get into the steps and open them up a little bit more. So step number 1 is deciding exactly what you want. And quite frankly, for me, this is one of the hardest things. I have to make sure I'm diligent about this, because sometimes what I really want changes. Over the course of a year, you might actually do this exercise twice or 3 times. And heck, if you do it once, I'm a happy guy. But decide exactly what you want. It's amazing how many people are working away day after day on low value tasks, on stuff that really doesn't matter, because they haven't decided what they want. And so they wander through every day. They finish their days frustrated, wondering what they accomplished, wondering why the big things aren't happening, and beating themselves up because they're not getting to where they want to go, because they didn't define where they want to go, which is step number 1, decide exactly what you want. So for me to help you with that, let me give you a couple of tips here. I'll ask you, what do you really truly want about family? So what do you really and truly want with and for your family? What do you really want for yourself personally? What about financially? What about in your business? And what about, and please don't forget this one, with regards to your health and your fitness? So those are some areas where you can think about deciding what you really, really, really want. We talk a lot about that kind of goal setting on this show. And if that's something of interest to you, if that kind of high level entrepreneurial thought is important to you, then keep tuning back to these episodes or subscribe to this podcast so that you get the episodes as they come out, or go listen to another podcast. It doesn't matter. I want you to get what's best for you. I'm not saying my show is what's best for you. I'm just saying we talk about that a lot here. But in your I'll call it the composition book. In the composition book, in that bound book, write out what your goal is, what you truly want. So for instance, you might say that you want more of a family connection than you've had because you're working too much, etc. So write this down. I want to take Friday afternoons off to pick up my kids at school. I want to volunteer at my daughter's soccer. I want to take my spouse, my wife, my husband, out for a nice meal once a month. That's all you got to do. Just write those things down. Now I'm going to ask you to turn that into SMART goals, and we'll talk about SMART goals in the next section. Okay. So that's step number 2 is where we're moving into now. So that's step number 1, decide what you want. We're going to move into step number 2. Again, I'm going to say this, and if you haven't picked it up already, this is important. I want you to write it down. Get used to thinking on paper. When you write down your goal, it just becomes crystallized and you give it something tangible. Plus, you can look back on it later and understand your logic for how you got to where you are, right? You actually created something you can touch, you can see, you can scribble it out, you can use different colors, you can draw arrows and lines, you can doodle, whatever you want, but it's yours to work with. If it's just in your head, that's where ideas start, but you're not doing anything with it. You're not starting to take action. You're not building the momentum of the idea in your head. And you and I are a collection of ideas that we make come to life. You realize that being a business owner and a successful business owner is a big effing deal. And you, my friend, are a big effing deal, because people all around you look at you and say, hey, look at George. Look at Jorge. How the heck did he start a business? That guy started with nothing, and look at him today. It's because you took what was in your head and you turned it into action. That's all I'm asking you to do here. It's just another level of action. Write it down so you can own it. Okay. So one of the things we want to do here in step number 2 is write your goals as SMART goals. If you go look back at the list, we said step number 2 is write it down. So we're going to write it down, but in a specific way. So a SMART goal, the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T, is an acronym. That means each of those letters stands for a word, right? So it's an easy way to remember it. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bounded is what we say. So all of your goals need to be really specific. They need to be measurable, right? So there's got to be a metric that goes along with that. They need to be achievable. They need to be realistic, and they need to be time bounded. Maybe some examples will help. Let's use a business example. We'll start with that since this is a business show. Maybe this is what you wrote down. My team is well trained and our service sales have increased by 25% in the 12 months since date, whatever the date is for you. So write that down. So that's just an example. Let me do a family one here. Family goal that you might write down. I will call the volunteer coordinator by February 3rd, 2021, and let her know I want to help out at soccer. And, more and more these days, being a volunteer at soccer means you've got to go get a police background check. Maybe you've got to take a course. Maybe you got to do something. But if you wrote that down, there's a reason. Maybe you have recognized that there's more distance between you and your daughter than you wanted there to be. And she wants quality time with dad or mom if you're the mom. And so being a soccer coach might be your way of giving back and hanging out a little bit more with your little girl, whatever that is, right? Let's do another family one here because family really is why we're working. But let's do this. By February 3rd, 2021, I will ask our babysitter if she can sit for us one Friday per month so my spouse and I can go for a meal. Now, I know with restrictions that might be a difficult one, but you see where I'm going with this. You've got to put every goal you've got down on paper and you feel free to cross it out. You might think I'm full of crap. Good. I don't care. Write down what you want. I'm just giving you examples off the top of my head, but write down what you want and make them your thing. So here, let's do another one about vacation. Before March 1st, 2021, I will book a 1 week, no cell phone, no email family vacation to the cottage for the second week of July. How's that? So just think about what those goals are. So write out your goals, whatever you did in step number 1, make them SMART goals. Okay. And then step number 3, because we're going to move to that now, is you really need to have deadlines with your goals. If you want to hear me really tie down deadlines with people, I actually host another podcast. And that one's still in the construction trades, but it's for people in the finished wood trades, cabinet makers, architectural mill workers, furniture makers, that kind of thing. And we just hit episode 100. And on episode 100, I did 3 separate coaching interviews. So I asked for volunteers from the people who listen to that show. We got some great people responding and I live coached them as the podcast episode. If you want to hear me do what we're talking about now, including setting a deadline with each of the goals, you can hear me do that with these great business owners who had the heart and the courage to get on the call and be a podcast guest. But regardless of how you learn about setting deadlines with your goals, whether you listen to my other show or this one, set a deadline with your goal. A goal or a decision without a deadline has no urgency. It doesn't exist. There's no beginning and no end. And even if your goal is to do something in the next 24 hours, you're a winner. Like you will get more done by having a 24-hour tiny little goal than you will by saying, I'm going to try to get this done in the next 10 years. Right? So without a definite deadline, you will just naturally procrastinate. How many of us suffer from procrastination? Oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. Not important now. And then we find ourselves always chasing this big beast that's nipping at our heels because we're not on top of it. So go back and look at all your SMART goals from step 2 and make sure they have time attached to it, right? So in my example above, I'm going to do this from memory. I will call the volunteer coordinator by February 3rd, 2021, and let her know I want to help out at soccer. So there was a time element there. That's all you got to do. Okay. All right. You ready for step 4? Step 4 is make a list. Make a list of everything you can think of you're going to have to do to get to your goal. And as you think of the new activities, add them to your list. Just write a list. That's why you need to have the book. Just keep adding it to the list, and then you're going to refer back to that list. So another little tip here, if you're doing everything off Post-it notes, you know what a Post-it note is, right? They're those yellow squares with glue along the top edge. You're not doing yourself any favors at all. Stop using those things. Use them for bookmarks, but or use them for other tools, maybe Kanban boards, but you really need to be writing things in a book, and you can look back on that book, right? So just keep adding it to the list and keep building that list until it's complete, and toy with it and tweak it and read it and go for coffee on your own, just by yourself. Turn off your cell phone and just go look at what you wrote about your goals and then decide to do one thing. That list gives you a visual of everything in your head, right? Getting your thoughts on paper, and it gets you towards your larger your bigger goal, right? And of course, it increases the chances you're going to get it, right? So you want to make sure you're in that mode and that you're just doing one little thing every time. Okay, so there we are. We're now going to step 5, which is organizing your list into a plan. And just do this by priority and sequence. Take a few minutes, look at your list, and figure out what you need to do first and what you can do later. And the reality of every list is something's got to be first and something's got to be last. If you're doing this exercise with a business partner and you're both, strong, confident people, and you both have ideas about what needs to be done in the business, then I'm going to remind you that once you create the list is just a list. Whose idea came first and what action came first doesn't matter. I mean, I appreciate that you might think yours needs to be first, but something's got to be first and something's got to be second. Before you do anything, something else has to be done first. So please set your ego aside and just agree with each other which one has to come first, which one has to come second, and then hold yourself and each other accountable to make sure that step number 1 is done before you start on step number 2, because you could be wasting gobs of time stepping on each other's toes, really with the best intentions, but just overworking instead of working smart, if that makes sense. So organize your list in a plan, prioritize it, put it in a sequence, take a few minutes, lay out your plan visually in a form, like in a series of boxes and circles on a sheet of paper. And you'll be able to make literally a flow chart. And it's amazing what happens. You see, what we've done here is we've taken those thoughts in your head, we've put them on paper, and now they're ours. We control those thoughts. Can't remember everything. By the way, how many times do you get interrupted by phone calls and people coming into your office and you say, well, I can't get anything done because I'm always getting interrupted. By the way, that's a completely different conversation. We'll get to that later when we talk about managing people. But if that is the case for you, if that's the real reality of the way your shop, your company runs, then writing it on paper is your way through that insanity that you're living in. Write it down, because then you could just sit down, go back to the page, flip, and go, okay, here we were. The last square I had on my page was this. The next action is this, and then just go do that action. It's not magic. I'm not here to tell you I'm smarter than anybody else. I fail a lot, but I keep working at doing little tiny things every single day. And whatever I do in the day has to have the most impact to my company, my life, my family, my loved ones. It has to have the most positive impact it can. And I do the highest impact things first. If you have an ugly phone call you got to make it first. If you have a great phone call, but it needs to be made, make it first. But get those things done. You've got I bet you it'll only take you 15 minutes to do the tough stuff in your day. And then the rest of the day is just bonus work. So if you do those things, you will accomplish more than you ever have in the previous years. And that's how we're going to help you on this show make 2021 your year of more. Okay, so organize your list into a plan is step number 5, right? You gotta have that list, and then once you have the list, you can organize it any way you want. Step number 6, take action on your plan right now. And you probably know this, if you had an average plan, like it's an okay plan, but you lived it, you breathed it, you told your team about it, everybody was focused on it, but it was just an average plan, you would do far better than somebody had a beautifully laid out plan with all the what ifs and how to's and Gantt charts and colors and post-it notes sticking out of every side, but they did nothing with it. It just sat in their book. That's a waste of time and effort. And some of you have done that. I know I've done it. There's no value in that. Have an average plan that you execute the heck out of, that you own, that you make your, do that. Be that guy, be that gal, right? So take action on your plan immediately. Now, here's a tip where you can use some technology. Put a calendar alarm. Make an appointment with yourself in your calendar to do that thing. Maybe your first action plan is to write your goals out every day in your composition book. It only takes, I do mine every day. I think it takes like 4 minutes to write the thing down. 4 minutes. Nobody's going to miss me. And if they do, too bad. My job is to run the company, and I need 4 minutes. 4 minutes. You guys are going to be in the bathroom for 8 minutes today. I'm only needing 4 minutes. 4 minutes to write down what I need to do in this company and prioritize the heck out of that. So we are working on what is the smartest, top priority thing that's going to bring the the highest level of value to me in the business. I'm taking this seriously, and I want you to take it seriously as well. So that's a tip for that. Put a calendar alarm for yourself to write your goals daily. If you do the first thing every day, that's even better. Do it, and definitely do it before emails. Emails can wait. Emails are 15-minute work orders. That's all they are. When somebody sends you an email, if I send you an email, it's a 15-minute work order. It's about how long it takes to respond to an email, research something, and get back to the person. If you're the business owner, you don't respond to work orders. You're here to drive the goals of your company forward, and you'll deal with emails later. So go ahead and make a calendar alarm for yourself. The first thing every day is to write out your goals and then take action on the most important things you need to do. Okay. And if you've worked with me one-on-one, hi, I know we're just listening here, but you've already heard me say these things, but you're going to recognize this statement coming out of my mouth right now. Always ask yourself, what is the one thing you can do today that'll make the most difference in hitting your goals? What's that one thing? Write that one thing down and then go do that thing. It's so very simple, but that simplicity is hard to get to. That clarity, it's really hard to get down to one sentence. And that's the sentence there. Remind yourself of this. What's the one thing I can do today that will make the most difference to hitting my goals? And then just go do that thing. Step 7. You guys ready to move on to step 7? Again, if you're already done listening, you can hang up. You've got everything you need. But if you want to get into this more, then step 7, resolve. Resolve means decide, right? Decide to do something every day that moves you towards your major goal. And again, I don't know what you wrote down, but you might have said, I need to read a certain number of pages on a subject, right? Maybe you decided that fitness and health was a real focus for you in 2021. So you're going to say, I resolve, I make a decision to spend 5 minutes a day reading on fitness, health, and nutrition, or on stopping smoking, or on cutting back on my drinking, or whatever your thing is. If every day you read a couple of pages on that, it's not going to change the world on the first day. And on the second day, it's not going to change the world. But after 365 days of doing that, you've changed your world. I hope that makes sense, right? It's for you. And all you got to do is take little tiny steps forward every single day. You don't have to hit a home run every time you're up to bat, right? So what's another example of deciding to do something every day, moving you towards your goals? Oh, let's go to sales. I'm going to call on a specific number. I'm going to call 10 prospects or 10 new customers, or I'm going to have 2 meetings, or I'm going to reach out to 3 builders a week. Whatever that number is, write that down and then take action, right? I'm going to say I'm going to work out for this much time every day. Let me ask you this. This is a tough question, and I hope you stayed with the episode for this. Are you investing enough time with your kids or your parents, the people that are most important in your life? Are you spending enough time actually making eye contact and slowing down and listening to them and having a real conversation? Are you really there as a dad or as a mom? And that's what we call being present. When you come home from work, do you take a second and just hug your wife? Give her a peck on the cheek. You don't have any ulterior motive here. And just say thank you and just give her an honest and genuine hug. Maybe that's your goal for the year. If that's the one thing you change this year, maybe that has more impact than hitting $10 million in this business and pulling out a couple million in profits. What's the difference here? What's going to go on my tombstone? I was a good dad, or, whoa, he put 17% EBITDA on his year-over-year growth. What's really going to matter is if my kids miss me when I'm gone. If my wife says, damn, I wish we had more time together. Or if she says, I never really knew him anyway. What's your thing? What's your thing? Maybe all it takes when you come home tonight is for you to stop for a second, sit on a chair, put one of your kids in the other chair and say, hey, what happened in school today? And look them in the eye and have a real conversation. What did you learn? Did you have any fun? Did you play any games? Depending on the age of your kid, right? You're going to ask different questions. But I'm not here to tell you what your goals are. I'm just here to remind you that there's a system for getting you to what you really want. And if we go back up to step number one, decide on what you want. Maybe you're listening to this show because you want to grow your business, but you really want to be the world's greatest dad, the world's greatest son or brother. I know lots of you have very broad shoulders because you're taking care of aging parents. You're, in a lot of cases, the most responsible person in your own family, amongst your brothers and sisters, and you run a company, and you've got a responsibility to be a good husband and father. You got a lot on your shoulders. And I respect that. And I hear it more than you would ever imagine. In my one-on-one calls with the people I work with directly, it happens a lot. And so don't think you're alone in that. But what do you need for that? What do the people around you need for that? So write that down in your goals, and then every day do something, one little thing that moves you towards your major goal. If every day you call your parents from your truck while you're driving home, they know you're kind of rushed and they appreciate the phone call. But maybe tonight when you get home, sit back and have a phone call with your mom or your dad or your aunt or your uncle. But do it when you have nothing else. You're not driving, you're just sitting there and you spend real quality time with them. That is more valuable to them than anything else you could do. So listen, resolve to do something every single day that moves you towards your major goal. And major goals were outlined in step one. Okay. So just take action. Okay. Now, a thing that you keep in mind here, and we've talked about it already, is just take little steps every day. People are methodical about going after their goals. Like every day they do one little thing, they get to their goals. It's okay to be really excited about it today and tomorrow and then the next day, and then it starts to fall off. But it's much better to go at it in a measured, methodical, step by step. Maybe doesn't sound exciting. Today we're going to do this, tomorrow we're going to do that. It doesn't sound exciting, but it's actually the key to making this stuff come to life. All right, let me wrap up here. I'm going to tell you the 7 steps to goal setting success. These are Brian Tracy's, by the way. They're not mine. Brian has spent years and years crafting and perfecting these things. You'll read them in his book, Goals, How to Get More of What You Want. And if you are a student of goal setting, then you'll recognize these. But here are the 7 steps that we talked about today. Number 1, decide exactly what you want. Number 2, write it down. Number 3, set a deadline. Number 4, make a list. Number 5, organize your list into a plan. Number 6, take action. And number 7, resolve to do something on your list every single day. So listen, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the call here. This, how long we've been going for 33 minutes. That's how much you've invested in the success of 2021, 33 minutes. And so I give you a high five for that. And I hope you found value. I really appreciate that you take the time to listen to this. I'm here to add value to you at every step of the way. And I'm here to specifically add value at the business owner, entrepreneur, human level. Okay, I'm not going to show you how to run your tools better. I'm going to show you how to run your business tools better. I'm not going to show you how to swing a hammer or dig a trench. I'm going to show you how to put systems and processes in place so that the business works for you as much as you're working for it. So thank you very much for checking in. I love hearing from you guys. Anything I can do to help, let me know. Reach out or get the book. The book is called Construction Millionaire Secrets. I had to buy a whole schwack of copies from the publisher, which I did not realize. I did not realize that when I went and wrote the book. But I had to buy like 200 copies. So there's a bunch of copies in my office still. So what we're doing is we're shipping them out. If you cover shipping, then the book is free. I'm not going to charge you for the book. You can get it on Amazon because, we uploaded it there. On Amazon, I don't know, it's going to be somewhere around $20 or something like that. So, but you can get it from us for free plus shipping, which I think is a far better deal. So if you want to do that and you want to hear more of this stuff, please do. And then you have a book where you can write your notes inside the margins and highlight things and I don't know, take it out to the gun range and shoot it, whatever you want to do with the book, it's yours. But find a way to add value to yourself from that. All right, folks, thanks very much for checking in. Let's go make 2021 your year of more. We'll talk to you soon.